We got Nisi on the track.
So for years, I've been a Yamaha enthusiast. The very first bike that I ever rode of their model lineup, I think was like a OG 1989 RT100. Maybe it was a 91, but it was a dirt bike, 100 cc's, just a color combo, hot.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
But first, we're gonna crack open this liquid death. Ooh, about to get some nice canned water though. This is my bike collection. Currently all Yamahas. Because I do like other brands, but I was looking for these specific bikes for a long time. And this is why patience is key, because these are the bikes that I wanted. Every single one here is one that I wanted. And I had the other model R6s, but those aren't in this lineup today. These are the ones I absolutely love. I love these bikes right here. Zuma 50cc. This is a legendary bike. You were so popping in the hood if you were a kid and you had one of these. Or the YSR 50s. YSR 50s obviously were the older bikes, but they've gone up quite significantly in value. And you know, the Zumas do pop off. They're still mad fun. You can get them to go about 50 with mods. And I mean, what college student hasn't had one of these? Which college campus can you go to and not find one of these? This one y'all know a little bit about. This was my very first sport bike that I saw in Motorcycling magazine, but this was the one that started it all for me and the super sports segment. If the keen eye saw it, this is an 06 R6S front end on this bike. I've got the clip-ons on it. And then the raised ride height comes by way of a 2015 MT-07 rear shock and shortened dog bones. So that gives the bike a taller ride height. This bike is quite a bit taller than like the original FZR setup, and it almost sits just aggressive as a newer modern R6. This is like the shit. I don't care if I never ride this bike again, it'll always be here. But these two on the end, and this is why they're lined up side by side, these are gonna be Jalen's. I mean, I already gave that to Jalen, and I'm giving this one to Jalen. I'm gonna get this finished up and done, and Jalen's gonna be rocking that. This R1 looks like the traditional granddaddy, the god bomber of the superbike era. This changed it all. This made everybody stand up and take note. Now this one specifically, this has a 2003 fuel injected power plant in it. Well, this is a different tank. The tank is also raised. That's because the motor sits in a different place, because it's a whole different motor. It didn't go for this chassis. This is fuel injected. When you get on this bike compared to any of the others, it's so soft and squishy and Cadillac-ish, but it's comfortable, and you can still get down quite a bit on this bike. God, this looks good. Now, the graphics are from an older bike. This is a race bike, race plastics, race fairing. It does not have a headlight. Headlight covers, LEDs, nothing back there. No headlight on this bike, no tail light either, just a LED strip. The goal when I was making this bike, putting it together, getting it all set up, was to make what is quote unquote the street version of what an R7 was, the real R7, not the new one, OWO2. It's a full race bike. I've done what I've wanted to do, what I wanted to have as far as what parts are on it, maintained it, rode it a lot, beat the piss out of it. These specific R6s were the legendary super sport takeover, championship winning, let's make the move to the highest revving 600s we could do. Like, these were the ones that started it. This took it over. Love this model. This is my favorite bike so far. And I say so far because when I got this, I just, aside from the look of it, I just fell in love with it because of what it meant, what it represents as far as the brand. This was a 1-to-1 bike, 1 kilogram to horsepower, 1-to-1, 174, 174. This bike, surprisingly, even though it looks so much bigger, there's only a couple pounds difference, and I mean like 3 pounds difference between this bike and this bike. This bike seemingly feels lighter when you move it around or do a kickstand twirl on it. it seems lighter than this bike. The weight is just distributed way better on this bike. It took me a while to grow on the undertail exhaust, but if you noticed, what I did with this bike is probably far different than what you've seen on this bike before. I haven't finished it. I want the full white tail, and I want to continue the graphics on through to the back there, sort of like what I did with the R6. White nose panel and full white tail with the graphics finishing out that. That's a 2008 tail end. Shortened it up and everything, made it look nice and stubby. The reason I did that was because the factory tail is so big and bulbous on this bike. I liked the remake. The remake was dope, but they just did a little too much with the beak and the nose and the ram air on the next one, the one after this. This was the style that made me really love the dual headlight ram air. It was just perfect. It kind of went at Ducati styling. This is a killer street bike. You know, this is what it's all about. This was the ultimate, this is the pinnacle of street bikes in the early 2000s. But having this bike, having this exact bike right here, led me to this bike. Now everybody says, well, why didn't you get the newer R1? Why'd you get this one? The reason I got this one is because of this bike. Look at them. They're essentially twins. This is the meaner, younger, badder motherfucking sibling to its big brother. So let's talk about the intricacies in the bodywork. Biggest gripe with these bikes, just the wide openness, the heat from the engine. These bad boys run hot. The fans cut on and they just blow the air straight on your knees. Really, really wild, right? A very, very wild feel. And then we roll over here to the 14, and look what they did. They actually directed all of the airflow. You cannot hate on this design. It's really dope. It's actually finned and directed. That is something that I didn't even notice. I didn't realize when I was riding because I just didn't have the heat on me. I just wasn't there. This is a very nice kick, so it kicks it out and then it comes out and around, obviously, once it gets in the airflow, but the shit doesn't land on my legs. Guys, you know what? Too much talking about this stuff. We could save these kind of things for like the live streams, but Jalen said he wanted to ride, so again, I'm gonna choose violence. We're gonna jump on the bikes. They look so good, they're cleaned up. We're gonna ride around and let Jalen get a little bit of ride time. He wants to go out on the street? Where are we going? Where are we going? Protect him now. Now we're out on the street. I'ma tell y'all, it's very, it's kind of disheartening seeing that he's so fucking comfortable. It's very interesting. Look at his body position. Let me get a little closer. Interesting.
Seconds later.
Little guy went pretty fast through there.